This wonderful offensive dodge ability hunter build info will be later on for the video. Initially, we'll do a quick GM test to see if it holds up. Some of this won't make sense, but just watch what you're about to witness. Okay, we're using this opener. Right, okay. So we go in with these dogs, get a dodge. Yeah. Get that blind, that suppression, plus the bombardier detonation. Weakening, but it gets crazier. As this initial part gets more dense, the more that this build shines. Just watch how it goes, right? So we get weak here on purpose. Boom. Get overshield DR via orb pickup. That's why we need attrition orbs, or want to top attrition orbs for this. We get another dodge. Somebody count how many dodges we got on this initial clip, or the entire video if you want. See if anybody's clever enough for it. Tether goes in. We've already got it. We've already got it. Okay, get another dodge. Another dodge back. Yeah, we're suppressing, blinding. This tether's great. 3/4 to a super. 3/4 to a super. This isn't the Orpheus rigs neither. Yeah, blinding, suppressing. Okay. Get rid of these back ads at the back. Just because the initial ads won't spawn in if you don't. So okay, so we'll make our way to middle. Lack on special. It's because when you load a GM up, you don't load with full special, which is silly. That's a bug. That it shouldn't be like that. Okay, this is where the real tester comes. All the ads will come to middle. I've got my tether prepped. I've got a transcendence to pop. Just watch this gameplay unfold. Tether goes in. Jolt, scorch, clone made, blind, detonation. Just look at what's going on. I can't commentate it all. Transcendence goes in. There's an unstop somewhere. He's to my left. Get another dodge. Duck and dive. Okay. Need to get a stun on him. Open salvo didn't proc there on 86. Sometimes it doesn't. Obviously you got riposte, but I didn't have that on. Hellfire spike nade there on the unstop. Then we're going with Praxic. Yeah, another dodge. Unstop is finishable. Okay, this initial section is very dense, good for test. Look at how they spawn. Oh, it's a perfect time to dodge on them. Bombardiers. 86, tether goes in again. Bombardier dodge again. Look at this madness. Okay, it's actually really good. I imagine Gemini Jesters to be good as well, but you don't get nowhere near as much as elemental effects as what this build is doing. It's doing jolt, scorch, Fredling damage, slow. What else? It's doing all the elements. Suppress, weaken via Praxic. Okay. It's doing every single element. It's doing every single element possible. Add spawn in here. Get a blind initially. Look at that. Control on GM. This is GM, bear in mind. Another tether. We get a lot of super regeneration. Look, we're getting weak, but then as soon as we dodge, boom. Okay, or void, overshield, DR. We're getting devour as well. Forgot to mention, you get devour on this because you got void overshield. Okay, look at that tether. I'm the best hunter bombardier main in the world. If there was such a thing, I'm it. There's no way that you saw better than this. The reason why we're getting so much super is because of Dynamo. Dynamo is incredible on this. Okay, yeah. Look, just ducking and diving and dodging and weaving. We're close to our next tether. Nearly getting it. Got it now. Tether again. How many tethers was that? How many dives and ducks was that? Who knows? Who knows? Too hard to do live commentary on this. Even I'm bested by this. Yeah, there's too much going on at once. I hope that's enticed you, hunters. That initial clip. It's got to. It's passed the test, by the way, for combatant GM challenge and champions. Stuns all champions as well. We'll come on to that next. Stuns all champions in this kit. Good for GM combatant gameplay. Can face tank bosses somewhat. Okay, because of void overshield DRs. It's got loads of stuff. This is the playback loop of it. So if you were on a boss, you would tether, then you would do 86 damage, you would dodge. You can use it with Praxic Blade as well. Yeah, Praxic Blade, you'll get your dodge back within 2 rotations of Praxic Blade, or quicker. Yeah, or quicker. So that's a playback loop. You keep making clones, that's the thing. And those clones turn into Fredlings and do sizable damage, you know. It's quite nice. So that's the playback loop. Let's check champions. Mr. Unstop, would you like some soup? Right? Debuff first. Let's go in. See the damage. Look at all of that detonation. Get another dive. There we go, and he's done. Unstop damage, check. What about barrier damage? There. Obviously, we stun. We can stun with any weapon if we've got Radiant, but we would stun with Praxic Blade there, look. Yeah? Very satisfying build. Look, it just blows up. Unstop. Overloads. It intrinsically stuns Overloads as well. So there you go. Now you've seen the clips, on with the build context on what this build is about. The reason for this build is because I made a Warlock offensive Rift build and a Titan Burst offensive Barricade build. This is going to be like those two, but for the Hunter. We're doing a Hunter one, and you are going to apply 5 elemental sources of damage within 3 seconds. This is a triple elemental class ability dodge Hunter build used in a offensive way. Okay, it's revolving around the exotic boots, the bombardiers, which has never been good in the game, but you can make a build revolving around them, and they can be actually quite useful, as you saw from the initial clips. Dodging leaves behind an explosive that detonates after a short delay. Yeah, this explosive damage cannot be buffed by weapon stat, grenade stat, or nothing. It is a fixated damage. That's unfortunate. But if Bungie ever buffs bombardiers to allow the weapon stat or the grenade stat to work with the explosive, then this build will be actually very important. Okay, the secondary effect, Arc is blind, Solar is scorch, Void is suppress, Stasis is slow, Strand is sever. So it's based on the super you choose. The best choice, in my opinion, on this is suppress, because it holds the best super for this, I believe, right? We could go Silk Strike for sever, right? But we can get sever via other sources anyways, right? So best choice, suppress, because Teva's extremely satisfying with this build. If we're going to be using Praxic Blade and 2-piece Smoke and 2-piece Sage. 2-piece Sage is what allows this build to work. Other than that, it wouldn't work. It needs 2-piece Sage. I hope you understand that. You're going to stack 2-piece Sage with Bray Legacy on the 86 sword to spam your Bombardier class item. Okay? Your Bombardier explosive detonation with suppression. You're going to suppress via Bombardiers, and then on the aspects, we are going to leave a clone which deals Fredlin damage, and we are going to slow the target. We're also going to jolt the target, and we're going to scorch him with knives. That's all 5 elemental sources wrapped into one package. Now, the suppress from Bombardiers will not weaken, but it will suppress, which means it will stun Overload champions, and it does incapacitate enemies somewhat, and allows you to survive. Okay? So, now you've got that. Why have we got this off? Hang on a minute. We had that off before. So, stat-wise, recommendations is high weapon stat. You want your class stat slightly over 100. Now, the class stat and Void Overshield doesn't work exactly together, but you're still better off running a higher class stat than 100, because it's not every case that you will always have an Orb of Power. So this build also has a lot of damage resist in its kit. We're going to have that via some of the fragments. So we're using Marksman's Dodge for lower cooldown, but you could use Gamblers if you really wanted to, right? I'm just using Knife Trick for extra scorch, but if we wanted to use Wyvern Blade, you are allowed to do that. Freddy Spike for extra sever, you're allowed to do that, but my build already has sever built in its kit already, but you can use this. I'm not saying you can't. Yeah, you don't need Snare Bomb for this, though. Arc Bolt for Jolt, yeah, for extra champion utility. As we said, Clone and Winter Shroud. Fragments are Facet of Protection for DR. Facet of Courage will proc via all the elemental damage we are doing. Facet of Dawn for the damage buff for weapons. And Facet of Dominance for the Jolt via Arc Bolt, which I really like for add clear purpose and champion utility. It's another way of stunning overlords. Facet of Purpose is the best fragment in the game for hunters, especially if you use Void Super, so you get Overshield. So you're going to get Overshield when you're swording enemies in Grandmaster combatant gameplay or bosses and such. I extremely value Faster Purpose for this build. It makes it work. but you need attrition orbs to make it work, right? Or siphons and such, which we'll break down further. Praxic Blade setup is offensive form, forceful blade 3, impact core. So we're also going to then weaken alongside suppression. We're going to weaken and suppress. So we've got Bombardier suppression and Praxic Blade weaken and Hyper Blade for amplified. Okay, weapons, well, in the run coming up I use High Tyrant, but we can use attrition orb weapons like, for example, Motif that you saw in the initial clip. And 86, this is the better role for hunters. Don't go elemental honing, you don't need it. What you want is attrition orbs for the Void Overshield, 70% DR. Slice is highly recommended as well for this, right? Okay, so we've covered that. Smoke's obviously very powerful. Here are the armor mods. There'll be a dim link anyways for this. Artifact mod synergy. A lot of synergy here. Swordstorm combo always goes on. Void Infestation is going to proc all the time. It's very good. Combination Argent Blade is for Praxic Blade. Singularity Blade works with Void Elemental DR buff via Void Overshield and such. Power from Pain's nice. Kinetic Simpsons, of course. Bolt Charge, you will get health when you kill arc debuff targets. And what are we doing? We're using Arc Bolt. Arc Bolts are good right now with the Jolt, when you've got Jolt on them. And we can get an extra stack of armor charges as well via this artifact mod as well. So that's the build context. It's honestly a very complicated build. And finally, what I did do for the final run in this is I done Birthplace of the Vile with literally Pressure Cooker and Extinction Revive. So it means solo flawless and has to be done quickly. It's just a build. It's just a test. That's all it is for the build, an extra one. I got a shiny accelerated assault rocket pulse from this. Kind of crazy. I got an accelerated assault, elemental honing, trickle charge, accelerated assault. So you can get accelerated assault via portal. Okay? They are rare, but it's possible. So anyways, that's what we did. On with the run. Okay, and finally, a ad dense strike to test this build out in, which Birthplace is very ad dense and sword friendly. So we're going with this. So look at this initial opener. Yeah, we're freezing and controlling that champ. We're doing good damage there. Yeah, to get that unstopped finishable, finish him off quickly. Yeah, but just watch how this play shakes out. We play very, very aggressive on this Bombardier build. And you must be living in a different... We must all be living in a different universe, because I didn't think I would ever say that to you, ever. That we're playing on an aggressive Bombardier build. But hey, look, we are, right? Must be in Universe 7 or whatever, right? So, we go aggressive right down at the bottom of the map, spawning all the overloads and the unstop. Get rid of the unstop first. I get frozen here. I got full transcendence, so I'll pop that right off the rip. Yeah, we're leaving clones blind and suppressing... Not blinding in the arc sense, but we are like suppressing them in the void sense, or blinding them in that case. There's different configurations that you can do on Bombardiers. I believe I've got the best version of it though. I think, you know, considering everything, it's got DR built into it. It's got everything that you would want, you know. I've made this as best as I can. There's always going to be that Hunter main that's fussy and wants it on, I don't know, Stasis Hunter maybe. Maybe wants it with Silence and Squall. But we got to recognise that Deadfall Teva's 35% debuff. And because this build is up close and personal, a Teva helps it out the most. I think second best would be a Silk Strike setup. But that would mean you only sever the target, which we're already severing because we've got Slice on the sword. So I believe this to be the best way to set a Bombardier build up all-rounder. The only thing that maybe we would change is the melee. I'm just adding the melee for Scorch. It is quite nice having the Scorch on there, but we could definitely swap that out for the Stasis melee probably. Don't need Fretted Spikes, we've got it. I've already got it on the sword. So you could swap out the fan knives for the Stasis melee, no problem. The build would function very similar to what it is now. There would be barely any change, right? Just that you wouldn't have Scorch, but obviously... You know, I'm just including the Scorch because it's YT, you know. I'm explaining to you that I can get 5 elements in 3 seconds, which I think is interesting enough for a YouTube video, right? Plus, we're getting lots of orbs. We're getting lots of Overshield DR. It's simulating Fortune's Favour a little bit for Overshield. Okay? I know Fortune's Favour obviously is meta, and it is the strongest hunter build in the game. Fortune's Favour, right? So it's hard to beat that. So we're not beating Fortune's favour. But this build is... I need to digest it a little bit more, but I think it's very powerful, you know. There's actually a lot of builds on Hunter that are powerful now. There's another Hunter build video I need to make about as well. So Hunters, you're going to get another one. Not today, but you'll get one. It'll probably be the weekend. You're going to get a very meta-defining Hunter build that some people have spoke about, but not everybody. We go in with a Tether here. Yeah. We get knocked back, though, as we stun him. That's unfortunate. Look at the control. I know that freeze doesn't stun unstop, but look at the control that the dodge is doing for me because of slow. Yeah? Finish off that unstop there. You can still die in Ultimate Portal very easy. There's times in this run I nearly do die. So we are playing very aggressive. So the build passes the test. See, I'm giving you a little bit of an insight on how we test builds, right? We test them as an all-round, okay? Add density, champion utility. Can it face tanker boss? This one can, but it does need attrition orbs to allow you to do that. Once you take attrition orbs off and you don't have facet of purpose proccing, you won't be able to face tanker boss. You will die. It's like the other video the other day when people were telling me not to use Spirit of Stag on Warlock and use filaments instead. Do you understand how worse that is? You've got no DR. You've got less DR. We are in a game now that's revolving around damage resist. You must proc builds for DR nowadays. Even if it's worse ad clear, you're still better off proccing for DR. Okay, Kindergarten D2 players, use lads have to go to bed at 3 p.m. You're not allowed to watch 9 p.m. adult entertainment, triple XD2. You're not allowed to have it. Okay, use lads have to go to bed. But for everybody else who knows and understands that DR stacking is the game now, you need to have some sort of all-round kit. One of the most researched terms for YouTube is understanding Destiny 2 builds. That's what use lads are searching. I'm giving you that information constantly, every day. I'm telling you why we use... I'm giving you causality and reasoning behind builds. Yeah, it's not a 7-minute video giving you that, but it's a video packed with a hell of a lot of information, and it actually answers. I answer all your questions about the build in the video. If you watch the entire run, you will watch this. We jolt this champ. Screebs are pushing. Yeah, obviously we're jolting him. We keep blinding the Screebs behind him. Who's behind you? It's a Screeb that's blinded, suppressed. Is the correct terminology. But yeah, you can go nuts with this build with Tether and like on a pack of ads it's so satisfying. Watch this satisfying Tether. There's a lot of satisfying Tethers in this run. Watch this one right here. Yeah, Tether goes in. I'm looking for the overload first. Yeah, I need to get Jolt in, but I have stunned him and slowed him with slow. He's done. He's finished. Yeah, get another dive, dodge, whatever you want. Kill the initial unstops. There we go. Just clears everything up. Half to a super back. Super regeneration is incredible on this, and it's not Orpheus rigs. So you're getting a bit of Orpheus rig playstyle without even using it. Yeah, you're getting a lot of super regen. Guess it's because of all the elemental affinities that we're using. Dynamo's the big one, though. Dynamo. It's very good with Transcendence's build as well. Obviously, Transcendence is good on Hunter. It's the nade. The nades have been buffed since Renegades. The Hailfire Spike nades, they're much better than what they used to be. They have more aim assist and they do more damage as well. So this build works well with that. As obviously it will. It's you're adding more elemental buffs, of course, in a different way. You get more of an ignition and more stasis stuff. Cap this plate here. Okay, then we can cap the other plate. There's a lot of add-dense situations in this. This is why I chose this one, because it's very sword-friendly. There are other ones, of course, as well, what we could have done. But yeah, it's just a vessel to show the build off to you, really. Make a clone here as well. With the clone tech as well, it always diverts the enemy AI. I value clones extremely valuable. Like, look at the Screebs. They're not pushing me. They're not pushing me. No need for invis in this, but you could You could add invis and sacrifice the clone. Or the slow, it's up to you. Right? Just remember, Ascension doesn't work with this build. You can't use Ascension with this. Not properly. I don't recommend Ascension. If Ascension procced Bombardiers, then I would. But it doesn't. Ascension does not work with Bombardiers. It precisely says dodge. Ascension is not a dodge, it's a class ability. That's a different distinction there. Unstopping mid, I stun him initially with the opening salvo. We jolt here. Saving on a bit of heavy, using Praxic instead. Obviously we're weakening as well with the Praxic because we've got Teva on. That's even more reason why we should be using Teva with this. The goal of the build is really to stack as many elementals in its kit without sacrificing any survivability. And I believe I've got that balance down. I've tested this build all day today basically. Not all day, but I tested the build for about 2-3 hours with different setups. Okay, I had to do a bit of theory crafting with this. This will be the first video you've saw about it. I guarantee that nobody's made a Bombardier video in the last 2 weeks. A month. Send me the video if you've seen it. I haven't seen any. Okay, so I've theory crafted this on my own. I haven't went and looked at anybody's video. I have done a quick search to see if anyone made a video about it, and I couldn't find any. So I've theory crafted this build today. I hope you understand. Okay, look at that. Nice, satisfying kill there. Doing sizable damage. The Bombardiers is doing sizable damage, at least on -30. But on -50 it does less damage, but the utility's there. It's got a lot of utility. Okay, I need amplified. I want to do this properly. This is a satisfying Teva coming up with a lot of ability madness. Right, it's chaotic. Let's just go Transcendence. Yeah, I'm going to leave a clone. That diverts a little bit of enemy attention. Look at this. We got loads of unstops, overloads, chieftains. Yeah, Teva goes in. Half to Teva. Okay, then I go in with my Praxic and my sword combos. Yeah. We're surviving with Overshield DR. Because we're getting it by attrition or kinetic siphons. Unstops are stunned. I have my Teva back. After all of that, look at this clip, hunters. This is the clip for you, right? This is the superlative. You should be looking at this footage and thinking, this isn't too bad, you know, this is alright. Look at that, I love that, being able to stun a champ via class ability. So I think what you need to take away from this video is that class ability builds are way better than what they used to be because of Sage Protector armor on all 3 characters. Titan, insane for the triple element burst barricade. That's insane, that build. Warlock, we can make insane stuff with that one as well. Having Rift stun unstoppable champions and stuff. Yeah, I'll link those 2 down below because that's your series. I've got a series here of class ability burst damage builds. And I've done it on all 3 characters. Teva goes in. Overload is weak. I stun him. I re-stun him with the class ability to slow him. Champion. Boss damage now. Although this boss has ADD. We're sick of him. Teva's still up. I pop a Transcendence. Half to my Teva. That's not even with high. My intellect was tier 7 with a font. So this is technically tier 9. Right? Because you don't need to run over tier 10 super. But obviously I didn't have the perfect stats for the build. Because I've run out of mats. I've run out of prisms and stuff. Means I've got to farm portal again, right, for mats. This is absolute madness, lads. They need to get the endgame material situation sorted for tier 5 masterwork, and it's madness. Especially if you're a build crafter. If you're a proper build crafter, it is a tough life. You're living on the breadline. You haven't got the prisms. You're living day to day. Should I spend these golf balls today? Don't know. Because that means I'm going to have to go in the portal and farm 3 hours of portal for prisms. No way I do that. They need to reduce this cost. And they need to sort out archetype farming. And they need to sort out... Look, I'm a D2 player. I want to farm armor, please. I'm here to farm it. I have the will and desire to farm it, but it's not there. The armor grind isn't right. Needs sorted out. Armor grind, archetype farming, stat distribution farming, endgame material farming. It all needs sorted. It's messy. The King of the North saying it's messy to you. I don't like mess. I want a proper game where I can farm, like in Division 1 and 2 and that. Or like, I don't know, any other games you farm armor in. I want it. I want D2 to be good and better. Watch this. Teva goes in. Unstop. Transcendences. Stun unstop here. Or we should do. There we go. Get the stun. Finish the unstops over. Boss is still weakened. Still got my transcendence. Okay, boss is... Look, you can still die, look. See how we dodged there to get the overshield and then the void overshield procced? Remember, they don't synergize properly, it's bugged, but you're still better off running a high class stat over 100. Because sometimes, if you haven't got an orb of power, that minor overshield can save your life. There's many times in this run that's happened. Look, weak, boom. See? A classic example. 25 minutes, 44 seconds. That is the exact reason why you run slightly over 100 class stat. You must do it, okay? If you don't do it, you're going to wipe. And then you're going to blame me for wiping. You're going to say, I tried your build. I died on it. Ah, well, did you? Did you follow it to a T? Or did you just half do it? Did you do a half job or a full job? When you're going to build craft, do it proper. Everything's proper with us. Every single element of this build has been fine-tuned exactly to what I want from it. Everything. The only thing I would change is the melee, probably. Use the Wyvern Blade. I would prefer Wyvern Blade, but I'm using Scorch just so that I can say that I've used Scorch in the build, right? Teva, again, Overload. Okay, there we go. Go in with my sword damage. Overload's half. He's now dead. So yeah, the build's done very well, right? You could use this in a you can use it anything portal based. You can even use it in Conquests to a degree. Obviously you wouldn't use it in Conquest Avalon, but that's gone now anyways. But you know, it wouldn't pass the test in that because that's obviously the highest degree levels. But it is a very fun build, and it's sort of not off meta, but it's between the line off meta and meta. It's sort of within meta because it does share traits of fortune favor gameplay, but with a twist. Look at how many out of overshields I'm getting in this run. Keep getting them. So it is emulating a little bit of fortune's favor, but we're sort of stacking a lot of elemental affinities based around the dodge. But one last thing for the run. This was a C+ score grading run just because I was using it as a build testing grounds. But like I said at the start of the video, I ended up getting an accelerated assault rocket pulse rifle. So it's kind of crazy. I didn't know that you could exactly get them from Portal like this. I thought it was only Vanguard alerts. So it's an extremely low drop rate in Portal activities as well for the accelerated assault weapons. So that's kind of nuts. That might mean that I might need to test some things surrounding this. But anyways, that was the build video regarding the triple elemental offensive hunter dodge build. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.